Hello, everybody. It is Tahara Renee Christie with Filter Free with Tahara Renee Christie, and I am thoroughly excited to come back and chat with you all live today. As I have been off of my podcast game for a little bit, life been lifing as it does for all of us. And the great part about all of that is I have been working on setting up my 2024. Now, I had a lot of 2023 to kind of work on some things and do a lot of networking, connect with some people that have really just changed my life. And one of the major things that I did for myself ending 2023, besides being sick, was taking that moment of sit down, being sick, to reflect on what I want my 2024 to look like and what I really wanted to prioritize in my life and how I wanted to hit the ground running with 2024. I got a phone call from one of my girlfriends this morning who was like, I ain't seen you online lately. And I'm usually 2, 3, 4 posts a day on all platforms. I'm in these streets, I'm outside, I'm on these social media networks. And I've been very quiet lately. And it's because I've been working on taking care of myself, like truly taking care of myself. Like I'm the type of tyrant boss to myself that I don't do no days off. I don't get no time off. I don't do no self-care. And I'm over here selling self-care. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you truly taking care of yourself? And so I want you all to know that I've really been doing that, and it's been wonderful. And granted, it's taken away from some of my grind, but part of the grind is really understanding the purpose behind what you do, not just helping others to live their best life, but living your own and truly being connected with yourself. And so I have an amazing guest today for this podcast, and we're going to be talking about just that, like how to set yourself up for amazing self-care, amazing self-growth, really taking time to live your best life in 2024 and what that could look like. And there's so many people out there talking about what self-care looks like, what it feels like, how to really focus on your education, your physical well-being, self-care practices. But I've brought on an expert that I think you guys are going to really enjoy because she is just a ball of sunshine and light and fun and education and information that I know you're going to be able to just really grab a hold on to, sink your teeth into, and enjoy her presence. And so her name is Nailah Queen. And she and I were both cohort participants with the Fearless Fund for the last like 5 months or 4 months or whatever it was, very long time, 12 weeks, sorry, it was 3 months. Felt like forever. And we connected because her spirit was so bright. And I was like, I need this girl on my podcast. I think this would be a great idea. So I want to introduce her and introduce her self-care business and all of the ventures that she's got going on. So if you guys would do me the honor of welcoming Nailah Queen to the stage.
Hey, y'all. Hey.
Thank you for joining us. I am so excited that you're here. And you've got so many amazing things going on in your life and in your business. Give us, detail us who you are, what you're about, and how you have made this amazing impact over the last 3 years of your business so that we can start our 2024 off the right way, because you're the expert. So tell us all about it.
I'm Nailah Queen, a serial entrepreneur. I am a wife, I'm a mom, I am a business coach. I promote heavy self-care and especially with women and particularly Black women. I'll focus on that. I also am an expert travel advisor. I've had my business for almost 9 years, and I'm just an all-around your sister girlfriend. That's what I am to everyone that I come in contact with. I love and adore you. Your energy is just magical. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're here. And yes, you were reminding me, I was just talking to my best friend yesterday about traveling and going abroad and joining a group of other Black women, especially to travel, because we in these streets, we try to be outside, and we're trying to be outside in style and with luxury and class and have a great time. So we're going to definitely talk about your travel business because that's a part of the self-care that we're talking about. And so tell us a little bit about your business. Now, I know you do self-care items. What exactly do you sell?
So with Regally Insane, we have all natural hair and body health products with a focus on underserved communities, because I feel like we are often overlooked when it comes to, food, organic food, accessibility. We have food deserts in a lot of areas. So I wanted to make it where so the people in these areas can get healthy products, can start a healthier lifestyle, and it's affordable and easy to take. So it's not like you have to get up and 2 hours early and make this type of smoothie in order to start eating healthier and being healthier. Because let's be realistic, we have moms that are getting kids off to school in the morning. We're trying to not be late for work, so we need to make it convenient, and that's what we focus on.
I love that. And supplementation and self-care items, especially hair care, becomes such a huge issue for us. I know my mom and I used to talk about this years ago all the time. We had every product on the planet, and we kept buying new products because whatever products we were buying, especially at mass retail, were not working. And so having access to small owned businesses now, especially who use high quality ingredients that are marketed to us, this is a new wave of awesomeness. Amore Pro does the same thing in that we really source really well, products and ingredients that we're trying to get to our people, especially because we're not marketed to. Everything is marketed to white women at the end of the day. And it's not a bad thing. It is what it is, but it's nice that we have these niche businesses that really focus on education, number one, and then high quality ingredients. So I love that. And we're going to actually put your ticker down here so that people have the opportunity to get in touch with you so that they can purchase your products. So I want to talk a little bit about your business coaching and exactly what you do there, because as a small business, there's lots of gaps that many of us are missing and trying to figure out how to get our businesses scaled and what to do next. Like there's so many levels and so many processes in business. And so, you've been in business for a while now. What has been your success and what's your angle when you work with other businesses to help them scale and get themselves up and running and make and profitable?
Pretty much to figure out what their goal is, their end goal, what they want to do, because every business is unique. Your why behind why you started is unique. And I often tell my clients to look at your why and let that fuel you. Why you're doing it, because that's going to be the thing that's going to get you up in the morning when you do not feel like getting out of bed, and that's going to have you go and make that call or see that person, provide that product when you're not at your best. So focusing on the why of why they're starting the business and having a clear blueprint. I'm very big on organization, doing things the right way. Let's not skip any steps, because if we're trying to build these legacies, we need to do things the right way so that we can leave the legacy, right? So a lot of businesses, especially businesses started during the pandemic, a lot of people missed a lot of steps, and I understand it. It was during a time when a lot of the state agencies were not working, the people weren't there. You couldn't file for certain things the way that you need to file for it because the stores and stuff were closed. So just going back over all the 1, 2, 3 to check boxes to get your business legit started the right way, just so you can continue to have your business long after, this pandemic and stuff is over.
Yeah, and that is a great point. I love what you said. And just so you know, I'm typing into the comment section so that people can kind of grab some of the nuggets that you're saying. But I love what you said. You're building this legacy. A lot of us started our businesses on accident, quite frankly. The pandemic bred a lot of us, especially moms with kids, were like, what are we going to do with these kids? Let's bake, or let's go and, have some fun. Let's make something that we could, some beading or crafts, whatever it was. Everybody kind of just made some things and just kind of put them out there. And then suddenly people have businesses. I, for one, am one of those businesses that I just wanted to not bake anymore because I was getting fat. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So I started making things I couldn't eat. And then suddenly I had a business. But like you said, so many steps were missed in trying to figure out, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm not doing. I have no idea. Hence these cohorts that have popped up that are focused on Black businesses and woman-owned businesses, because many of us didn't look to go into business. And suddenly now we need this. So I love the fact that you're helping businesses to build legacy, because it's not just about your business. It's the precedents that you're setting up for your kids and your kids' kids. Yep. and breaking generational curses in order to establish financial abundance for your family. And many of us have never even had the opportunity and never even thought to think in that direction. And now the opportunity exists. And so I'm curious to know how many businesses have kept going since the pandemic has kind of stopped essentially and life kind of opened up again, because it's even harder to be successful now because now you're just like everybody else. and being and sustaining that success, if you were successful during the pandemic, has become the challenge for many, many businesses. So what would you say to those businesses who have started, stumbled into something, made all the mistakes, and now they're trying to get steady and regulated with their profits? What would be your best advice to give to them in order to sustain themselves in the current economy?
What I would say is, one, I've realized, especially the millennials during the pandemic, a lot of people didn't go back to work. That flexibility that we had working from home, realizing how important it is to actually sit down and have dinner with your family as opposed to rushing through traffic to come home in the evening. Cutting costs on childcare because now you're home and you're able to do certain things. A lot of people opted to not go back to work. This was the I quit culture after this pandemic, honestly. And a lot more businesses decided to stick with what they were doing to survive through the pandemic. Because think about it, a lot of people weren't getting income. The unemployment, that took forever for people to get. So that's how all these businesses started, especially Black businesses. Because one thing I know for certain, we're going to bet on ourselves and we're going to make it away. We are resilient. So many businesses started during that time. And it's like, hey, listen, I made it happen without anything else. And I was okay. I can keep doing this. So a lot of businesses continued and people did not go back to work. What I will say is, what I tell a lot of clients is, a lot of people didn't have the data during the pandemic to know what pricing was. So like one big example, everybody was doing a boiling bag with the shrimp and the crab, and especially over here because we're big on seafood. And their prices were, your price was your price. But now, after the pandemic, restaurants are back open and we have crab boil places and crab shacks and stuff like that. So it forced people to look at their pricing and make it comparable to what their competitors are. So I was telling people, like, you need to start looking at data, do some price comparison, restructure, so you can survive. Yeah, you can get one person and you charge them $75 for this boiling bag that, this other place down the street at a restaurant that they can sit down and have wait service, and they're charging them $55. You need to do some adjustments if you want to sustain and have that person come back to you. Everyone can always get that one customer, but you want repeat customers in order for you to continue to be in business. So those are the things that I tell them, and what everyone should be doing in their market anyway is, looking at the data. Data is, I'm big on data. Just checking back and seeing if your pricing structure makes sense.
And that makes so much sense. Data is king in terms of understanding how to make business moves, because many of us, again, we did this on a whim. So we're still whimming, still emotionally charged in the decisions that we're making. And I had to learn that when I moved my website from GoDaddy, which was just plug and play, super easy, to Shopify, which was data driven and not as pretty to me and not as easy to structure. And everybody's like, but you need the data. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm reading. I don't know what this is. And I'm grateful for my business coaches who kind of sat me down and worked through that so that I could understand the importance of tracking, so that I could make scientific based decisions, so that I was making strategic moves in my business versus emotionally charged ones. That's a lot. I think that's great advice. That's huge for our businesses. So you've got the business coaching, you've got the skincare business. Talk a little bit about, I know you authored a journal as well. What was that about? Tell us about that. And why is journaling important?
So it's a mindfulness workbook, and it actually kind of came about because it was something that I was working on myself. Being mindful of how I talk to myself and how we speak to ourselves. A lot of times we focus on how other people are treating us, but not focusing on the thoughts that we put into our own selves. Are we being positive? Are we lifting ourselves up? Are we talking down to ourselves? So this is just a workbook that has you 12 weeks of you just focusing on being kind to yourself, giving yourself grace, talking well to yourself, self-care, and just being in that moment. Being nice to yourself, saying those kind words, stop doubting yourself, say, hey, I know I can do this, instead of automatically saying, I can't, I can't, instead of saying, I can. Just replacing certain words can change your mindset and change your outlook and change the outcome of your situation very easily. So shifting that negative thinking into some more positive thinking. And I feel like that paired with business coaching, because we need to cover that, especially if you're doing anything in business, because we have to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of anybody else. So whether you're doing a product-based business or a service-based business, you need to be whole and you need to take care of you, because it's going to show if it's negative in everything that you do. So your products, your service, whatever you're doing. So that was the focus on bringing that to light. And with It's Nailah is my business coaching, but it's a lot of women empowerment events. So I'm heavy on just the self-love with women and sisters, and just that community and the sense of sisterhood, because it's needed. Oftentimes we speak about women, especially Black women. We are so competitive, we can't be friends with one another. We're not supportive. So I'm big on showing and proving that is not the truth. And what better way to do it is to actually be in the moment and do it myself and show that I'm with these other sisters like you, and we're supporting one another, and this is real, and we can have a community and a village of support. So that's what that's about. It's Nailah is all about that.
I love that, and I concur. So I actually also wrote a guided journal called Manifest That Shit. It's available on Amazon. Hello. But then as I'm writing this, I had a whole section talking about mindfulness and talking about mindset. And I was like, you know what? I need to pull out that mindset portion of it. And I created an entire book specifically on mindset. And for me, as a person who has always been driven, I've been in corporate sales forever and a day. And it didn't matter what you did last week. What are you doing now? What are you doing going forward? Like, that's the mindset of everybody. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you did. It matters where you are and where you're going. And so I've always been really hard on myself. Like, I feel like I'm from the generation. I grew up with Billy Blanks. Grew up with, hardcore workouts. I'm of my mom used to do Jane Fonda in the morning. And it was just kind of like, come on, it's really rough. And it's never the softness of checking in and how do you feel, and thinking about how you talk to yourself and how you see yourself. Never giving grace to yourself. You give grace to other people, you give grace to God, but you as an individual, you haven't even earned that. Like, that was my mentality. And so shifting from that space into like the fact that I haven't really worked all of January, which is crazy. I work, girl. This is what I do. I love to work. I love giving to people. And I've had the best month so far, not because I'm being lazy, but I've literally shifted my focus to this has been a moment of grace for me of you had a really hard year last year. And when did you take time off? My mom died in November of 2022. We buried her January of 2023. My mother-in-law died 4 months after that. And then my husband was gone for 5 months taking care of his dad. So I never acknowledged that last year. I never stopped working. I never took time to grieve and just sit. And while I'm saying all these things, I realized I was just like, like thank God I made it through. Thank God the kids all got fed into school on time and the bills got paid and all those great things. But we got to preserve you. Like, you're the glue. You're the thing that keeps all these things going. And if you're over here pushing self-care for everybody through books and products and all that, what about you? Yeah, and so I think, you know what I mean? Like that, I did 2 cohorts. When we were doing Fearless Fun, I was also doing another cohort with another. So I was double. I was insanely keeping my mind occupied so as to not spiral out of control, to maintain what I felt was a level of success. And now that my mindset has changed on what success looks like, it's no longer the numbers. I mean, it's important, but how I feel, how much grace and mercy I've given myself during my most vulnerable times is a part of my success. Like I said, my girlfriend called me this morning. She's like, girl, where you been? I'm like, I have been healing. And healing for me is being introverted, even though I'm truly an extrovert and love being out and people seeing what I'm doing, all these other great things. But being quiet is a beautiful thing in our society. I don't think honors silence very often, whether self-silence or silence of others. We love to cancel people, but we don't love to honor the silence of people, even when they are strong. You know, our strongest people need the most grace. They need the most quiet so that they can rejuvenate, come back out and give y'all all what y'all need all the time from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. I want to talk about the strong, because we have this strong title that we give ourselves as Black women. And it's like no other race does that, right? You don't see any other race walking around proudly beating on their chest that they're strong. Caucasian woman, a strong Asian
Well,
woman.
Caucasian women give themselves the strong title when they don't wear makeup in public. But anyhow, go. Go ahead.
But no other race does this. And what we do, we give ourselves this strong title to mask trauma, right? That we survived it. We're strong because we're survivors of trauma. And it's like a badge of honor that we shouldn't have, because we shouldn't have to go through the trauma that we proudly say, hey, I've made it through, when other races don't have to go through the same thing. So I'm glad that you have embraced the fact that, hey, I need to be gentle with myself. I don't need to be this strong woman that society tells us that we have to be. And I feel like we have to be the ones, as Black women, we're the ones that need to tell this next generation, you don't got to be strong. You just got to be a woman. That's all. You can be soft, and you can take care of yourself, and we don't have to mask all this trauma that we're going through and grief. I understand about, just picking up the pieces and keeping it going, because we are the center of the household. We are that driving force for everything that goes on, and we tend to just say, I got it, and just keep going. And I'm glad that you took that time to say, you know what? I need to take care of me. I need to process everything, because I've jumped over it. I act like it didn't even happen. I've done it myself so many times. And we have a tendency, because we're raised to do that. Like we see the examples in our parents and our aunts and our cousins. It's all around us. It's even portrayed in the media and on movies. And we just saw The Color Purple. Like, this is a real thing that women, as Black women, deal with. So we have to embrace being gentle with ourselves, taking time to take care of ourselves, embracing what we don't like. If we don't like it, let's say we don't like it. Hey, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to be a part of this. And even with the families and certain things that you don't like, it's okay to say, hey, I don't want this. Whether it's family or not, we have a tendency to say, hey, well, that's just how she is. But she's mean, and she's saying mean stuff to people. Why should you keep subjecting yourself to something that does not feel good, makes you feel bad, and it's not beneficial to your overall well-being? So this era and this age, we have to take more control of saying no and letting it be a complete sentence with stuff that we don't like, without explanation, or feeling guilty for doing it, because we do feel guilty when we tell people no, and we can't do certain things, and then we also feel like we're letting people down. So it's all these layers that we as women, Black women, have to work through. So the self-care is so important. I am so glad that you're doing it. I'm doing it myself. I've been doing it for the past 2 years, and I've seen my circle change. I've taken some, I'm not going to say losses, just because I feel like if it was good for me, then it's not a loss. And if it was bad, then that's where it should be, type of thing. Removing people and spaces out of my life that isn't conducive for my growth. It's not helping me, it's not bettering me, not supporting me. And I've seen my tribe change. I've met some amazing people like you, and just done some dope things just because my focus shifted. I'm more positive. I don't, if it's drama, I don't want no parts of it. Like, I'm not around it. We're not doing that. So I'm very happy that more of us are taking a step back, and that's I think part of it is the pandemic that allowed us to start to slow down. It gave us time. Like, we started businesses because we had time, and it gave us time to kind of look at things like, what's the value here? Like, what are we doing? So it's a different space that we're in, and I'm glad that we're in that.
And you brought up so many great points. Like, I'm just like, yeah, girl. Amen. Because like you said, with the pandemic, I always say, what do you give a creative person? What's the best gift? It's not money, it's time, because it gives you the ability of your thoughts and your wisdom to cultivate something from within. Because creative people, that's what we do. We create. And so I also like the point that you made about saying no. And I feel like that is a natural transition of the perimenopausal 40-year-old woman during this time frame. Because when I say it took me to my 40s to learn that, number one, no is an action word that should be a part of my vocabulary on a day. I'm to the point where I say no to things, even if it is yes, just to practice. Okay. Because I'm really good at saying yes. As a mother, you also talked about guilt. Guilt is a self-assigned emotion. And as a mother, it came with the package of the children. Okay. I guess I was assigned it when I gave them their names. The guilt just came on me and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And I have assigned myself mother guilt and all kinds of guilt from all types of no's that I've given to my community, my church family, all my friends, whomever it is in business. Being in sales, it's my job to say yes, because if I say no, it affects my paycheck, my pocketbook. And so I have been the type of parent to say yes to everything, having been a single mom for several years. I remember when my kids were, like, my son would say my girls were 3 and my son was 6. And I had a lady at the church who'd be like, "Oh, your kids are spoiled." And I'm thinking, they ain't got a daddy. How you spoil kids as a single mom? I can't spoil them. I've ruined their lives. Like, in my mind, that's the mentality I had at the time. I'm overcompensating here. I'm doing a damn good job of giving them everything they want and need because they ain't got a daddy around. So, and then obviously hindsight, they're 22 and my twins are almost 19 here. I was like, okay, I did spoil y'all quite a bit. I did overcompensate in ways, and because of the guilt. It was the guilt. But what I also gave my kids outside of those things was the ability to learn my lessons with me at a younger age. My kids are so effing resilient. They're so smart. They are capable of so much more than I was at that time because they healed along with me. Right. They were able to see their mom in real time do all the things that other people won't learn until their 40s. My mother's generation hid everything. We didn't know nothing about. I didn't know how to balance a checkbook. I didn't know how to pay taxes. I didn't know all the things they did beautifully. They didn't teach. It was quiet. It was quiet. It was a secret to behold. And then I remember when The Secret came out, I was like, this is a secret. Why are we just learning about this? Because generations before us, they weren't about talking about it. They just did it. They had great work ethics. Well, how did you get that? Well, why? Well, what did you do? How did you save? You mean you had stocks and CDs and bonds? Why wouldn't you teach us these things? Like, my kids learned financial literacy since they were 8 years old. They know how to do these things. My daughter, the first big check she got, she was like, "Mom, put this in a 401k." What? I didn't learn about that until I got to corporate America. Why? We keep these secrets of self-love, saying no, not being guilty. These kids nowadays, they got more je ne sais quoi. They are so confident, like for no reason at all, more than we could have ever imagined, because our generation, the millennials and the Gen Y, we told our kids everything. Now they too damn confident. But I'd rather be able to reel that back in than have them go out into life with timidity and no ability to just try it, fail, and start over again. We gave our kids the permission to fail. And failure was not an option for our generation. You know what I mean? So I feel now they have the ability to self-care. We're just hearing that word for the first time in the last 5 years of life, because self-care wasn't an option. You just keep going. You live with your trauma. You don't talk about your trauma. You live in the truth of bills got to get paid and you got to be the one to pay them. Okay. Now we can have more finesse. And so I say all that to say, what has been, I know a little bit about your story, but I want you to talk a little bit about your story as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner. How did you get from who you were when you were a young girl figuring out life to you having gone through single momhood? How did you get to this big business woman that you are today, that's successful, people look up to, that's got this great personality, this great outlook? There was an in between. And I talk about my story all the time. I want to hear about your story. What makes you tick?
Um, I will say one word is God, right?
Okay. Yes.
Because
Say
I have been through some stuff. I had my son when I was 16, so we grew up together. So I understand when you talk about them seeing everything and being transparent because he was with me with everything. Everything I went through, he was right there. So that's why we have the closeness that we have and the realness. He's seen real world experiences at young ages. Um, and then, I got into a marriage. It was abusive. I lost my mom in the middle of the abuse marriage, and I lost myself in the process. And I'm so glad that God kept me from myself during this time. I went through 3 months of, I call it daycare, outpatient. I was there for Monday through Friday. They did not play about me, and but I learned so much. I learned so much during that time, and then I met my husband, um, my current husband now, and he just reminded me that God didn't forget about me. For so long, I thought God had forgotten about me. And I look at just how my life has been, like where I came from, what I've overcome. And I'm charged with making a difference and being the best version of myself because I know that I'm here for a reason. Because God could have been like, hey, you go ahead, you wilding out, go ahead, keep wilding out, and I'm not be here. He could have let me be in my thoughts where I did not, because I truthfully did not want to be on earth anymore. I was suicidal. I went through that stuff. So he could have been like, girl, go ahead, do it. But he didn't. And he kept me for a reason. It's crazy because when I was 19, I was praying. And they say be very specific when you pray for a guy, or you're just going to get any old person. So I wrote down all what my wants, everything I wanted, check box, check box, check box. And he very clearly said, it's Daryl. Well, at the time, my best friend at the time name was Daryl. I assumed it had to be him, right? So we got together. We were great as best friends. We were horrible as mates in a marriage. And so fast forward, go through that, and I'm at a club with my girlfriends, and I'm outside, and this guy comes along, and we're talking and everything. So it goes in a club, and um, he's supposed to come back and buy me a drink. No one ever buys me a drink. Supposed to come back and buy me a drink. And he goes, I see him go out the front door, and very clearly God says, go after him, to the point where I'm like, excuse me, God, we don't do that. Like, we don't go after people. Like, don't make me look crazy out in these streets, God. That's not what we do. But I also know to be obedient. So I go outside and we start talking. Come to find out, his name is Daryl. And we have so much in common. He's my current husband. So both my husband, the actual Daryl and the new one is Daryl, but this was the Daryl that he
the
talked about and that
irony.
he promised me. And it's been everything that he promised me since I've met him. And I can't do anything but tell the world and show up the way that God has me showing up, and taking everything that he's blessed me with, and making the best out of it, encouraging other women who are going through and have gone through what I've gone through, because my story is not just my story, it's other women's story out there as well. And they need to know that, hey, you can get to that other side, and you can be successful, and you can have real love, and you can be treated and appreciated, and you can flourish. And God is amazing. So that's what I live for, and that's what I focus on helping the next person, showing that, God is love. So I'm going to be that reflection to the next person, especially the next woman, because that's what I needed. So we be who we needed during that time that we needed. And that's just how I move. I'm blessed to be a blessing to others. I wake up each day thinking that, living by that, and doing that, and being the better version of myself than I was the day before I tried that. So
I love
that's my
that.
story.
And that's such a reflection of what you just previously talked about in hearing no. Sounds like God said no. And no is not a bad word. It literally, rejection is God's protection. He was protecting you from yourself. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so glad that you were able to see past those dark days for yourself and gave yourself the grace that you required in order to know that there was your Prince Charming was out there. And I think it's amazingly ironic that both their names were Daryl. I love that for you. So how long have you been married, and how old is your son now?
My son is 29. He'll be 30 this year. And I have been married. Yes, I have an almost 30-year-old. I look at him sometimes like, this is crazy. This is crazy. When we go out, people don't think that he's my son. Mother's Day, he takes me out. No one acknowledges me because it looks like we're hanging out. And he's like,
your man, girl.
You give her a rose too, like you're giving out roses to everyone. And they're like, your mom. And like, yes, I don't know if I look young or if he looks old.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
No, yes. I mean, black don't crack. I mean, when I say black women are winning right now, black women in their 40s specifically are winning right now. Yes, I get it all the time. Nobody knows. They say, you have 4 kids, and they think children. I'm like, I've got a 9-year-old, but that's my deal breaker, baby, because I got remarried and, had to have my baby, and we love her. But I've been asked, this is my grandchild from time to time. And I'm like, only because she looks different from me. But no, black women are winning. We are in these streets with drinking our water, eating mangoes, minding our black owned businesses, and looking great doing it. So that's what it is. That's what it is. So good for you. So I love that. I love that you've put a pretty bow on the package of a lot of trial and tribulation that has made you stronger. And what a beautiful testimony to self-care, to pushing through and perseverance and tenacity and giving grace in that process so that you could become ready for your king, so that you could not only serve him and allow yourself to be served by him, which I think is missing in a lot of relationships nowadays, and be a reflection to your son who's not married, no kids, praise God, look at him, look at God, so that when he's ready to have his queen by his side, he knows what is expected of him and what he deserves in a woman. So,
I'll say this, because in the beginning, my son was very clear when he did not want to get married. He's seen my failed marriage. He's seen his father's, and he was like, I'm not getting married. I don't want this. And I will say, I talk to my husband about it often, as well as my son, that we showed him what real relationship is like. And he actually said it in his speech at our wedding. And he said that, he thanked Daryl for allowing him to see what a real relationship looked like. And now he has a girlfriend. He's like, we get married. I know this date, like it changed. And it was the blueprint of what relationships should be like, how they should be healthy. So he got us to be able to see, a contrast to what he saw before. And he's like, I want that. And he's going through it. His girlfriend is like his best friend. If they remind me of how me and my husband are, because he said, I paid attention. I know these are things that's needed. I need to find someone that's a friend. I need to find, someone I'm compatible with. So he was able to learn from my experience prior to and right now to say, hey, yes, no, this is what I want and all this kind of stuff. So it has made a difference, because it definitely shifted his mind. He's been a lot, happier. And so we have to be those examples. We have to be those examples for our kids. A lot of times we think they're not paying attention, and they are. Or we're doing it for the sake of keeping the family together, so it's not broken up type of things. And our kids see that stuff. So we have to, as parents, show them the best version, not only of ourselves, but of our experiences as well, if we can. So I'm very happy. I wanted to say that because he mentioned it in the speech for the wedding. It was on our wedding video, and I was just like, oh yeah,
which is so beautiful. And like you said, you didn't go through everything that you went through for just to have gone through the process. It literally was planting seeds that you were able to see materialize in your life and in your child, and that. Well done. You know what I mean? Like this is the glorious moment of reflection, because you can tell we tend to speak at kids, tell them what they need to do, what they should do, but to be a reflection of what we would like for them to experience for themselves is the key to the kingdom. It's the way that they're going to want to manifest that same ability in their own lives through your reflection. Case in point, I've been a church girl, Christian girl, my whole life, involved in church, always leadership, all these roles. And when I met my husband, we were high school sweethearts, and then we got back together at 31. And when we got back together, it was kind of like, this is interesting how this full circle moment is coming, but I'm in a whole different place in my life. I'm in church all the time. I'm doing this thing, and he's an atheist. We couldn't, my husband, we couldn't be more opposite. I'm the black soul food, gospel singing, diva songstress. My husband's quiet, very white, very rock and roll, very vegan. He was just, we couldn't be more opposite, right? But he would show up to church every Sunday in his little suit and stand there and hear us yelling and screaming and praising God. And he was just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know it. What is it? It's weird. This is foreign to me. I don't understand any of this stuff. And there were points where I was like, yeah, so you ready to come down to the altar? You ready to give your life to Christ? He's like, no. I was like, what? What do you mean? This is blasphemy. And I was like, you need to understand, if we're going to be together, you got to accept Christ. You got to be a Christian. You got to do. And I was just coming at him, and he was just like, foreign to me. I'm crazy. You're forcing this down my throat. I'm not interested. No, like, ew, girl. I ended up saying, okay, I'm gonna back off. And then one of my friends said the most profound thing to me. She's like, if you're going to force Christ down his throat, number one, you're gonna turn him away as a potential mate for you. And this man's ready to marry you, take care of you and your kids, and do all these things. I was just like, but he's an atheist. And my friends were like, you can't marry an atheist. I was like, but he has a good heart, and he acts more like a Christian man than these Christians that I'm seeing in my church. So let me give him a chance. We've been married 11 years. It'll be 12 years in June. In the middle of us losing our moms, at the same time of life, last year, for the first time in the history of us, this man said, would you like to go to church with me?
Whoa.
First of all, I had sex right then and there. We had a lot of sex that day. It was great. I had sex with him in Jesus' name. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? When I say I cried tears of joy, because for the last 11 years of our relationship, I have been exemplifying the life of Christ in my life for him to see for himself, for him to decide for himself that was something he wanted to do. And I thank God for my patience in that situation and in that moment. Like you were saying with your son, you could say it all day long. They got to catch it. They not going to hear it before they catch it for themselves. Mm-hmm. And while that's my husband, I'm a child, it's just the same concept in that they have to see your love reflected for them to understand that they can have the same thing. And God will put opportunity in its path for them to be able to see it for themselves in order to want it for their own lives. So we go to church all the time. We do Bible study. He wants to know more. It's been a beautiful exchange of patience and love and perseverance and God's will. He gonna do what he do. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to intervene. You ain't got to put nothing down nobody's throat. And in that same light, my daughters now are to the point where like, I can marry a man like Ben, and I think it's so beautiful because while he's awkward and weird and all these other things, and I just love him because I'm a big old fat nerd and it's cool. They finally see what a real relationship looks like and have the desire to pick a mate based on how much they're going to love you, how much they're going to show up for you, how much they're going to be there for you. Because it's not the wedding, it's not the ring, it's not the fanfare on Facebook, right? It is the marriage. It's the stick-to-itiveness. It is against all oddsness. It is the desire to be present during those really difficult times that don't make sense, but I'm going to be there for you. It's showing up to the hospital, picking up my mom from, where she need to go. You know what I mean? It's all the things that people don't talk about, will never post about, we ain't gonna never brag about, that he is there for. He's there for my children. Time they were babies until grown-ups, he's still there. And so I love my husband, girl, like you with Daryl. I got my Daryl too. You hear me? My my man is gonna be there for me through thick and through thin. And for me, that is everything. And I'm excited the next 12 years of our marriage and what can pop up and how we're going to work together to push through. And so that is part of my self-care too, is having that permission to love and to be loved, which is beautiful. Such a beautiful thing.
because we a lot of times, especially in our families, you look at the history of things. Like I didn't have really anyone that now as I'm an adult, a healthy marriage that I
Mhm.
could know what it looked like.
Yeah.
I had, I think, one person in my family that was married, but that wasn't a healthy marriage. And then growing up, I even think about my neighbors and what I saw growing up. Everyone was married, but as I got older, I'm like, that wasn't healthy. That wasn't healthy. That wasn't healthy. That I didn't see it, so I didn't even know what to compare it to. When
Mhm.
you get into a relationship. So the great part about us having the mates that we have now and having these healthy marriages where we are loved and we are cared for and we are protected is breaking the norms of what we grew up seeing. And it also
Mhm.
breaks the norms of what our family members grew up seeing, because now we are that couple. We are that healthy marriage that our nieces, our
Mhm.
nephews, our cousins, our aunts, our uncles, all sisters and brothers can see and say, hey, maybe we're doing this a little bit wrong. Maybe this is what I want my marriage to look like, kind of the blueprint for our nieces and nephews, so they know that hey, this is healthy. I don't want this arguing back and forth. I don't see my aunt and my uncle ever arguing and calling each other out their names. I don't want that. That's not a good, healthy relationship. So we are changing the
Mhm.
dynamic of our family, and that's our purpose. Like
Yeah.
it should be always evolving. Our next generation should be doing the same thing for the next generation after them as well too, so they can see that healthy relationship, and we can show that, like even with our friends, our friends as well, seeing something that's healthy, and they'll say, hey, that's what I'm looking for, not the exact thing that we have, but it's a blueprint, it's a guideline to say, hey, this is something I see them flourishing. I never did any of these businesses until I met my husband, Karen. And I will say, when you are loved and you are supported and cherished, you will thrive in everything that I've done. He's my hype man for real. Like he does not play about me. And it allowed me to just be in my creative space and keep going and keep going. And he keeps saying, keep going. And I keep going. And he even brought me a sign. I have it behind me that we really can't see because it's blurred, but he brought it. It says Nailah the brand. And he has this on the wall for me to remind myself how dope I am whenever I start to doubt myself. Like he is like the ultimate hype man. And it's allowed me to be who I am now, the confidence that I have in myself and being able to pour that out into other people. I'm definitely thankful for God. He is my rainbow after my hurricane. And I say that all the
Mm.
time.
I love
Yeah.
it. I
I'm
love the love.
yes, love is amazing. It is so amazing. It's necessary. It's definitely
Yeah.
necessary.
And it's a reflection of the God that you have in you. When you have a partner who sees that light and is
Mhm.
drawn to that and wants to support you and be there for you in all of that. You like, my husband, my mom used to say to me all the time when I was dating, when I was younger, you want to get a man who loves you just a little bit more than you love him. And she didn't mean that no shade. She meant that. And when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing, right? If your man can only see you, kind of like a tunnel vision of you, because he just thinks you're just so great and you glow and he will always come back to you. He will, whatever he does, it's going to be with the effort and the desire to please and uplift you. As a woman, for me, it's biblical. I don't know what anybody else thinks. I don't know how everybody else approaches it, but in the Bible, it talks about all these things a man has to do. A man has to provide, he has to love, he has to cherish, he has to be there for, be patient with it. He has to do all of these things for his woman, because the women are the prize. And in today's society, we think the man is, we think the D is, we think the money is, we think all these arbitrary things that are not important are the thing to have a man for. But no, the man is supposed to do this plethora of everything to make sure his queen, the apple of his eye, has everything that she needs. You know what the Bible says the woman is to do? It didn't say nothing about cooking, clean. It didn't say about none of those things. Respect. That's it. The Bible says that the woman is to respect the man. And that encompasses a lot, but it doesn't give specifics about what that means. So
Mhm.
when I say I respect my husband, that means I am going to cook for him. I am going to make sure he's going to come home to a clean place. I am going to present myself well in public. I'm going to show up to places on time because I got his last name. I am going to, make sure that I have a nice demeanor and I present my, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do all the things to make, I'm going to speak to him with kindness. I'm going to approach him with a softer tone. I remember talking to my girl. I was like, yeah, girl. So what he said was, my husband came in and I was like, hey, sweet, how you doing? She's like, why do you change your voice?
Switch up. Switch up is real.
That's my man. I'm going to give my man all the respect that is due unto him, because guess what he does? That laundry list, the things that the Bible tells him he needs to do. And he was doing that before he even cracked open the book. So it was in him. And that's the point, is to make sure that we are reflective of what we want to receive in these relationships, so that we can go out and be great, so that we can go out and create, so that we can go out and fail and try again. And our man gives us the go ahead. That's okay, sweetie, keep going. You know how many times I want to throw my business out, the baby out with the bathwater? You know how many times I was like, I'm done with this. These people, customer services, I can't, I'm done. He's like, baby, just take a break. Calm down. Come back tomorrow. You know what I mean? He gives me the permission to be great, as if I needed it, but I'm grateful to have that support in it, so that I can be a reflection of him as he reflects me back to. That's partnership. That's the ability to be everything that you want to be and more. And I'm so happy that you have given the example of that. And like you said, you have your rainbow after the storm, which is such a beautiful way to describe love after so much loss and so much growth that you had to go through in order to appreciate what you're able to bring. So I love that you broke that down. Why Nailah Queen? Why should we even hear what you got to say? Girlfriend, you broke that thing on down because you have seen the other side, and you are now, you've done the work, you're doing the work, and now you have the ability to give someone else the blueprint, as you said. I think I put it up there. Yeah, the blueprint to the relationship, to the business, to the life, the self-care reflection, the travel that you want to have. So we're going to wrap this thing up by telling us a little bit more about your travel business and how we can get in contact with you in order to book our own amazing travel experience with you and your company.
Well, my travel agency is Royalty Escapes Travel Agency, and we have been in business for almost 9 years. It started out as me just booking trips for friends. I come from my father. He traveled all over. My mom, she loved to travel. And I wanted to start something that I can help underserved, like people in my community, people that look like me, travel, because a lot of times people think you can't go places, like, oh, it's too expensive. We can't go. And then, only thing we're doing is going to Myrtle Beach or Ocean City, something that's local. And I work for the Department of Juvenile Services. And I've realized that half of these kids haven't been out to state, let alone to the other side of this state. They haven't even been on different sides of town sometimes. So I wanted to make it affordable so we can get us outside of this city and travel, because travel is learning. You need to see the different cultures. You need to see that every place is not like Baltimore, and to learn that. And these kids need to experience it. So we started it. I specialize in groups and destination weddings, and everyone loved us and embraced it. We are thriving. And during the pandemic, I took a shift just because, people weren't traveling, but I kept everybody abreast of all the changes that were going on with travel. So they still followed through the pandemic. And when travel opened back up, they booked. And I love it. I love it. I love getting pictures of people taking their kids for the first time out of the country, and get pictures of the babies on the balcony with the water in the background, having breakfast and things that they've never done before. So again, these legacies and these changes in our family, I'm big on that. And I'm going to be that person, if I can, to help make those changes. So that's where the travel agency came from. And I love it. You can book with us at royaltyescapes.com, royaltyescapes@gmail.com, and I will put something amazing together for you. Travel like royalty at a fraction of the cost. We do have payment plans. I do make it affordable. You are going to travel 4 and 5 stars. You are going to have an amazing experience. I'm big on experience. We're not going to send you somewhere just so you can go. We want it to be a whole wraparound experience. So we're here for you. We're definitely here.
And you have payment plans, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. We always look for that. Got to stack our coins. We do a little bit here. And I think that's the big thing, especially with travel or anything that you want to invest in. It ain't got to be a lump sum. Yeah, the trip may be $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, but if it's $100 a month for the next however many weeks, months, years, you can chop it up and spend your money on things that are intangible. I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday. We went to Disneyland this week, and we had a great time, but it was less about the rides and the food, which was great. But it was more about I had the opportunity to just invest time into her. And one of the things that I said to her, because every corner in Disneyland, there's a shop. They want you to consume. You are there to consume. Yeah, we'll entertain you while you're consuming. They just want you to spend your money. And I said, Ella, we don't need all this. She's like, but everybody's got ears. I'm like, that's great. And they will wear those ears here and spend their little $35 for their ears here. And when they go home, they're never going to wear it again. I said, I will take that same $35 that you're interested in for the ears, and I'm going to teach you about how to day trade for the day. And I'm going to teach you how to turn that $35 into $3,500. How about that? She was like, okay. She's 9 years old. I want to teach her how to consume in a way that is reflective of her future and not the moment. Because it's too quick that kids will get money and then they're just like, but what did you do with it? How did you learn from it? How did you grow that? So we are all about travel. In fact, taking her to Jamaica and Haiti in March. And It's just me and her. And I'm so excited for her because neither one of us have been, but I'm all about that. Like you said, I think I put it here. Travel is knowledge. That was a great point that you made. It really is. And it's a way to get out of the books and the self-described education that our education systems, kind of push down our kids' throats. It's all important. However, travel is just that. Like, just even when you have mistakes that happen or things that, you have to deal with at the time, you learn something from it. So I love that. I plan on booking a trip with you as soon as I'm able. Like I said, I talked to my best friend. We were like trying to go some places, and we love the idea of traveling with other Black folk who are looking to travel. And, a lot of my girlfriends who are single, they don't want to go on trips just by themselves. You can get a group together and go together. It makes it that much more of a fun experience. So we want to put your royaltyescapes.com so that people can get in touch with you. We have your ticker at the bottom. Definitely like, follow, and subscribe. They're on Instagram, on Facebook as well. Regallyinsane.com is her website. Definitely check her out. Look at her workbook. Book her as a business coach, and definitely support your self-care business. And you also mentioned you have a couple of events coming up. Can you plug that for us real quick?
Yeah, so we have a group trip that's going to Barcelona for one. This year, we're going to do Barcelona, Ibiza, flying over to Barcelona and doing a 7-day Virgin Voyage adult-only cruise while we're over there. And then we also have this Saturday, we're at the Third, which is a incubator shop for 5 Black women owned businesses. So we will be sharing that space. I'm excited. Our grand opening is Saturday in Columbia, Maryland, right on the lakefront. We also will be at the Collective, our Owings Mills, and at Made in Baltimore as well. So we're kind of getting to different spaces, which I'm loving. So I keep everything kind of online. So it's Nailah.com would be where you can see like the different events that we have for women empowerment and like our long table dining experiences and stuff like that.
So I already told you I'm coming to Baltimore because that's what I'm coming to Maryland specifically so that I can eat with you, play with you. I need some crab. I need to have the fun. I want to go. I wish I could go to Maryland on the 3rd, but I can't, or on Saturday at the 3rd, but I'm coming and we're going to chop it up and we're going to definitely do this again. I enjoy speaking with you. You're an amazing light. Like I said from the beginning, thank you for blessing our audience with your education, your information, and your love and your story, which I feel is so inspirational to so many people. This has been Filter Free with Tahira Renee Christie. We are blessed to have Nailah here, and definitely check her out. Please follow, like, and subscribe, and come back and see us again next time on Filter Free with Tahira Renee Christie. We love you all. Bless you guys. And we're going to sign off and say bye-bye.
See y'all. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Of course. Thank you for being here, sis. We'll talk soon.
Yes.